This is a tough group, man, to keep in check, as you can tell, and I'll be honest with you. These guys are all good. Coming up next, Matthew Larosiere. Matthew is coming up for the Firearms Policy Coalition. Thanks, Matthew.
How are y'all doing? I'm Matt Larosiere. I'm the Director of Legal Policy for Firearms Policy Coalition.
Right into the mic.
Oh, is that better, guys?
What?
I can do it again for you. I'm Matt Larosiere. I'm the Director of Legal Policy for Firearms Policy Coalition. We are a fiercely nonpartisan group of civil rights lawyers. It's not just about gun rights, it's about all of your rights, and that's why our slogan is all the rights, all the time, because it's all related. Without a First Amendment, what's the point of the Second Amendment, really? So you have to be always on guard for all of your rights, and the Second Amendment is most important, not because your freedom of speech, your other freedoms are safe, but because they never are and never will be. So first of all, I'd just like to thank Alan and Julianne, SAF, and the citizens community for the opportunity to join the panel and share this information with the attendees and those watching at home. I'd especially like to thank them for their incredible partnering on cases, briefs, and other legal action that we've taken. And in this cooperation between our groups, this type of coalition building, these are model organizations that are allowing for much more work to get done and just allowing us to expand our scope broadly and really make some wins in our fields. But most of all, I'd like to thank all of our supporters, members, and all of you activists who make this possible, who make this important. Because if it weren't for you guys, none of us would be up here. So thank you all so much. So FPC covers all the bases. We are involved in the legislative branch. In fact, in the past few weeks, we were up in DC. In fact, we had so many meetings that we had to have everyone there. There were more than 60 meetings in the period of a couple of weeks at the White House with different senators and members' offices. And we were there. You know, they were always asking, well, you know, what looks good to you? What look, you know? Well, no, we don't negotiate with politicians. We were there to educate them on the serious implications that some of these common sense measures have against people like you and me. Because the fact is, when you let one side control the entire debate and you don't check it, when you have an emotional argument on one end and it's not being checked with a proper counter-argument, they're allowed to control the whole field. And that's the field we're operating in. But we were sitting down with these members and explaining the real effects of red flag laws. We were talking about some of our members who have been affected, the real human civil rights consequences, and especially those consequences for poor, minority, disadvantaged Americans that these people, when we told them these things and we showed them the data that we had gotten, they were blue in the face. It was like they had never seen it before. We also are involved in litigation constantly. We brought more than one challenge to the bump stock rule, the age ban, assault weapons bans. Constantly we're working on that. We do research. We just now, from speaking to our members made it clear to us that they want more to be done. They want more out there. So we put together a legal policy shop. We now have a dedicated gun rights think tank, which we're really proud to have. Adam Kraut, Joseph Greenlee, and myself were the first members of that, and within a month of us being on board, we put out multiple white papers, multiple policy memos, and we're getting solid information into the hands of politicians that and members were calling us and thanking us because no one had taken the time to break these things down into plain English. I don't know hopefully most of you aren't lawyers. I hope there's better life choices in the room than that. But those of you who aren't lawyers might notice that when you read law, it's not written in English. It's actually written in this horrible Martian language. And I mean, I'm a First Amendment advocate, but I think that's one type of language that I could get behind being banned. That said, we try to translate all of this stuff to plain English, because if something's hidden in the third subparagraph of subsection D, sub A, on the third day of September in the Internal Revenue Code, right, you're not going to know about it. So that's what we try to do, is we straight up say, hey, this weird little paragraph means you can get arrested for literally no reason. And we've seen it happen. We've seen stuff like that happen. And so that's what our policy papers are there for. We, the three lawyers that we have, endeavor to read the Martian script and translate it to regular human English for you guys to be able to read. So check those out. That is a great one-stop resource. You don't have to go to any statutes. It's all footnoted. It's all thoroughly researched, and it's designed to just give you guys the equipment you need to properly have debates on all of these different proposals that are coming up. Not only that, we get involved in firearms technology, outreach, education, grassroots, media. We've had, I don't know how many cable TV appearances, again, in the last month since we opened the new legal shop. But the most important thing for us is that our philosophy drives all of our work. We have a set of founding principles which go back and are rooted in the Constitution, but not just the Constitution, because let's be clear about something. The Constitution is an instrument of law, and it recognizes rights that existed before the government. So there's a philosophy behind those rights. There's an understanding of human autonomy behind those rights. The fact is, your right to keep and bear arms is related to your human right to control your autonomy, to control your livelihood, right? The right to keep and bear arms is not about, there's no whitetail clause, right? It's not about hunting. It's not about target shooting, and as much as I would like it to be, it's not about collecting weird World War I bolt-action rifles. It's about the fact that in this country, under our moral understanding of human rights, there will never be a situation where you have to accept unlawful force as terminating what is yours. And we need to own that philosophy. It's not about the Second Amendment, because if the Second Amendment weren't there, we would still have a right not to be turned into dust because of an unlawful actor. Oh, thanks. So again, as my friend from the Jews who know was letting you know, it's not about your gun collection, it's not about hunting, it's not about stuff like that. These are the types of discussions you need to have with people. Because for years, the discussion has been too tone deaf. People, when the person who's not on our side thinks about somebody who's pro-gun rights, they think about an old white guy, in a cabin who's stacked 10 transferable Thompsons deep, right? Like, just a weird hoarder. You have to make it clear that it's not about that. You have to make it clear. You have to draw real life examples, right? It's easy to say, well, I don't think you should have an AR-15. It's like, okay, that's fine. Well, do you drive a car? And they usually say yes. Okay, so do you feel comfortable with me deciding how many gallons are in your gas tank or how many horsepower you have, or is that your decision? Because either way, when you drive the car, you have to drive it responsibly, right? I can cause damage with a Prius, I can cause damage with a Corvette. When you start to level with these people and speak openly and honestly with them, it changes the discussion. Then you can start to have an honest conversation. Because if your conversation is, I hate what you do, versus, will I have a right to do it, you're speaking two different languages. Understand that these people, they don't want to harm you, they just haven't thought about it the way you have. So, and again, like we were saying, what y'all need to do, there's two things that y'all can do to change this debate. Go out and talk to people. Make friends with people who disagree with you and speak to them like normal human beings. And two, join the Firearms Policy Coalition. Thank you all so much. Y'all are amazing, and I thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it, man. Thanks.